Hi, I'm Anne Greene, and this is part one of my multi-part series called Don't Say Schwarzenegger. I'll be talking about how I survived an attempted murder in 2015 and the ensuing aftermath of corruption and stalking and intimidation and everything that I experienced since. I suffered a traumatic brain injury during this assault, and I've dealt with everything from stalking, hacking, intimidation, witness tampering, obstruction of justice. There's racketeering going on. There's a lot of stuff, and it's going to take me many parts to cover it all. There's a lot of characters involved, a lot of places over the course of 9 years, like Game of Thrones. There's going to be a lot of information thrown at you. I'm going to do my best to make it clear and concise. I'm making this video because even though we won criminal and civil trials, we won. The defendants still haven't had to take any accountability. I still haven't received justice. The other victims haven't received justice. And the justice system has failed over and over and over again. And I've been documenting every single thing along the way. And I'm hoping the public can help me, can support me, believe me, and protect me, and bring these men to justice, because the system won't do it. I'm just going to talk about, in this first part, I guess, what happened on that night. 1 month from today, it'll be 9 years since the incident occurred, April 17th, 2015. Me, my older brother, and two of his co-workers, a guy and a girl, the four of us all went to this little VIP bar called The Nice Guy. It's in West Hollywood. And the four of us were inside. I remember holding my Stella beer, and at the time I was a cigarette smoker, and I said, I'm gonna go step out into the smoking section, and I'm gonna have a little smoke. I'll be right back. And they said, no, we'll come with you. So the four of us go out into the smoking section. It's outdoor, attached to the bar. It's really tiny. There's 4 two-top tables and a wooden fence 6 feet tall. That's important later. 6 foot tall fence around us. And so that's it. So I am having a little smoke, and we're chatting, and all of a sudden we hear a really crazy commotion happening 40 feet away from us on the other side of the fence in the street. Not on La Cienega Boulevard, but on Westbourne, I think it's called. And we all peer over the fence, the 6 foot fence, and we can see that there's a guy on the ground, and there's a group, and he's in a fetal position, and he's just taking kicks and punches, and there's a group of 10, 12 men just pummeling him. And then there's a group of about 10, 12 other people, men and women, standing there, not doing anything. And this wasn't a fight. We thought this guy was going to be unalived within seconds. It was terrifying to watch. It was brutal. And we're screaming for help. Security, police, where is everyone? But there's nobody there. We're outside. Everybody's inside the bar. So I realized there's not enough time to run inside and get help, or even run inside and go through the front door of the Nice Guy bar, which is a crazy, heavy, like vault type of door. And I also realized in those seconds that if a guy tried to intervene, the guy would probably get assaulted too. So in my little naive head, I was like, well, I'm a girl. I bet if I ran over and said, stop, stop, he's not fighting back, I can stop it. So I decided to jump the fence, and it was pretty easy for me to do because there was a small table about waist high next to me. So I just hopped up on that, swung my right leg over the fence, and there happened to be a wooden horizontal lip on the other side of the fence, so I could easily step down, swing my legs over, and get down, and then run over to the melee. When I ran over there was one guy in particular, and I'm screaming, get off of him, he can't fight back, it's over, it's over. The guy's face was rearranged, it was terrifying. So I ran over, and there's one specific guy on top of him, just wailing on him. So I take him by the shoulder, and I try to pull him off one time. He just shrugs me off like a gnat. So then I go a second time to go pull him off. And the second time, he finally turned around and looked at me, and at that point, I heard a scuffle behind me, because again, there's a dozen men beating him and stuff. So I turned my back to him to see what's happening right behind me. And at that point, that's the last thing I remember before I regained consciousness about 45 minutes later. That man who I pulled off, Alberto Daniel Driz, who was convicted, he hit me so hard in the back of the head that I lost consciousness before I hit the ground. When I woke up 45 minutes later, all the defendants were gone. They had, ran off to their cars and sped off before the police and the ambulance could arrive. I had a paramedic in my face, and he's like, "Oh, you're awake. We need to put you in the ambulance." And I was like, "No," and I'm in shock. And I also have no memory of being assaulted, so I'm confused why they're all worried about me. And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. No cops, no ambulance. Like, oh my God, I'm fine." And then I see the looks on everyone's faces, and then I touch my face, and I can taste the blood. I can feel my jaw is out to here. I can feel my forehead is out to here. It was 5 inches out. It was a traumatic brain injury. I had a concussion, and they thought this was bruised. It was dented from somebody's shoe. And I said, "Okay, maybe you should take me to the hospital." So I hop in the ambulance, and then I lost consciousness in and out for the next couple hours, and they took me to Cedars-Sinai to get treated. And I was in and out of the hospital for the next 48 hours. When we were in the hospital, I remember being on a stretcher in the hallway, and I was trying to answer questions to the best of my ability, with a traumatic brain injury. I was trying to help them, tell them what happened. And I remember being really worried, wondering if the guy had been unalived. So I asked the doctors, "Is he okay?" And they said, "Yeah, actually, there's several people here that were attacked by these men, and they're all here at the hospital, and that guy is in the other room." And the doctor said, "We're working on him. We might have to do facial reconstructive surgery on him, but we have to wait till the swelling goes down on his face before we can make that decision." So it was pretty scary. He eventually didn't have to have that, thank God, but he had pretty bad injuries. So we found out later down the road that during this assault, while I was unconscious, my brother ran out, tried to help, and he was sucker punched and attacked over and over by this group of men. His friend tried to then come out and protect me. No, he didn't know I was there at this point. He didn't know I was unconscious. He just saw my brother being assaulted. So you can see him in the security footage, not swinging at anyone. And he's a big guy, and he could have done damage. Nope. He just put his body in between the attackers and my brother, who was losing consciousness, and they were attacking him. And so the big guy just took the hits, was getting strangled, but he was just trying to de-escalate the situation. I found out that later that the woman we were with, who had witnessed all of this, she runs out after them, sees them attacking, it's a melee, and she sees my body on the ground not moving. So she drags my body off to the side, and she's checking my pulse, and she's screaming for help. She's screaming for help, and she's screaming for 911. And while she's doing this, one of the defendants, one of the identical twins, one of the Drizzes, who I'll be naming everybody in detail as we go with these parts, he came over to her while she's screaming and crying and checking my pulse, wondering if I'm alive. And he comes over and he calls her the C word, the one that rhymes with bunt, and he backhands her across the face. So this is the type of people we're dealing with. I found out too that the manager of the nice guy ran out. He heard the commotion, ran out, and he was one of the main witnesses who saw Alberto Daniel Drizz with me on my back on the ground, and he was sitting on top of me, sitting on my chest with his knees on each side of my head. And the way he described it was that he looked and he saw him wailing like this, looking down and just over and over on my face while I was laying there unconscious. This manager was then attacked, sucker punched and attacked by Sean Drizz, one of the defendants as well. He was injured, but this man saved my life. And this is something that we didn't know until years later, and I'll tell you why I came upon that evidence. So that's what happened that night. God, 10 minutes goes by really fast. That's what happened that night. I'm going to do as many more parts of these tonight, tomorrow, the next day after that. I'm going to keep posting these, until I go fetal. I'm going to take little breaks, but I'm going to keep them coming. Any questions, any advice, any fact-checking is welcome. If you guys wanted to tell me I'm doing something wrong with the video, I should do it like this, that, whatever, tell me, I'll listen. I'm open to everything. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of the comments and the support I've gotten in the last week when I started posting little stuff. It means everything. So thank you. More coming. Okay.